Hello everyone and welcome to the Le Mans Esports Pro Team Series, this round number 4 of the season. Of course, we come to you during very tough times around the world, everyone in lockdown, hence why this broadcast is going to look a little bit different from the others. There's going to be, of course, some updates we have to give you before we get going as well. Our AM qualifiers that were due at Sebring and Spa, those are going to change now. Sebring, of course, being cancelled, the FIA World Endurance Championship event there, and the one at Spa has been postponed. So we were due to do some AM qualifying events, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail about later to those of you tuning in with us for the first time. But we'll give some updates on that throughout, and you can get some more as well on our Twitter at Le Mans Esports. But my name is Chris McCarthy. Thank you very much for tuning in. To those regular viewers, welcome back, and thank you for bearing with us during these times. And to new viewers who are trying to fill that void, that void which motorsport, of course, around the world will come to a stop at the moment. But we, of course, can keep that entertainment going through esports, which has taken off recently, the Le Mans Esports Series growing with it. So let's put all that to one side for now, all the problems in the world at the moment, and let's focus on some great racing. At this point, you may see a different face joining me for the broadcast this time. Harry Jack's not with us, unfortunately, and hello to him as well. I hope he's keeping well, and his family too. But I'm going to bring in now Justin Sutton, who is joining us all the way from the US. You may know Justin from his work on the likes of F1 Esports, and he's also the social media and community manager at Motorsport Games, so no stranger to the Mans Esports Series. Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, as you said, very difficult times that we find ourselves in at the moment. It's unfortunate in a lot of ways, but we do hope to, as you say, fill that void that motorsport has left for us. I'm really excited to be here. It's unfortunate that Harry couldn't be here. I'm sure lots of fans of Harry's out there, but I do know that he's going to be watching and tuning in. And, I don't have Harry's experience or talent or good looks, but I hope to make up for all that in beard size.
Yes, you definitely make up for it there, of course, and more. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, let's talk a little bit about the Le Mans Esports Series. What's it all about? Well, this Pro Team Series, we have 16 of the best esports teams from around the world who have entered to try and qualify for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final, which was ran for the first time last year. So this, the second season of the Le Mans Esports Series. Now, the top 6 teams in the championship at the end of 5 rounds, well, this is round number 4 at the moment. At the end of 5 rounds, the top 6 will qualify straight through to the Super Final, which will take place at the Le Mans 24 Hour, which is, of course, now due to go ahead in September. Those 6 teams will be joined by 3 more pro teams. One of those has already qualified through. That was the Williams Esports teams at our Autosport Invitational event. And 2 more wildcards will also be joined. That makes 9 pro teams. There will be 9 more teams joining as well this year in a brand new change for the Le Mans Esports, and that is going to be the new Pro-Am class. Now, those are made up of drivers qualifying through Rivals mode on Forza Motorsport 7 and also through AM qualifying events. Now, you may remember, I just mentioned that a few moments ago. Here are the guys who have qualified through so far. So the Rivals events, you can enter on Forza Motorsport 7, and there's plenty of time to enter during these times. Those guys you saw on screen, we've had 4 Rivals modes so far. Those were the guys that have qualified through. And at Autosport, the top 3, we basically had rigs out for the whole Autosport show. People could come along, set a time. It was completely free of charge. And the top 3 at the end of the weekend qualified through. Now, we were due to do the exact same at Sebring and Spa. Of course, Sebring being cancelled, Spa being postponed. A little bit of unknowns at the moment in the motorsport world. We're going to bring you some updates on how that may change or when those events may come. So bear with us on that. But Justin, you're no stranger to the Mans Esports Series with your work at Motorsport Games. Tell us what you think of the whole series and how it compares to some of the series you've worked on.
I think it's fantastic, actually. I really enjoy it. Also, my former employer was Lazarus Esports. Got to be repping them here today, of course. Yeah, exactly. Got to rep the champions. So, yeah, it's a fantastic series. I really enjoy it. It's been a pleasure to watch along and to follow the series, and to be commentating it is, truly a special treat. So, really excited about this. I got my eye on a few teams, obviously, of course. We're going to get into the qualifying order and all that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But yeah, I'm just really excited about today's race. Sebring is a unique challenge for sure.
yeah, home race, of course, for yourself. Have you ever been to Sebring?
No, I was going to be going this year, but as you said,
There we
unfortunately,
go.
getting canceled, postponed, whatever it was. So yeah, I unfortunately missed out on my first opportunity to see that truly iconic track, one of the best in America, no doubt about it. And yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that I didn't get to see it, but of course, safety comes first, and that's what this is all about as well too. With all of us being separated out and being working from home and remote and all that kind of stuff. So we're staying safe. We hope all of you at home are staying safe, and we hope we can put on a good race for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important messages coming from this broadcast. On behalf of all of the team, we please hope you do stay home, stay safe. You don't need to go up because we've got the Le Mans Esports Series going on for the next 2 hours. So do be sure to stay home and stay safe. The sooner we all do that, the sooner our motorsport can get back going again. Now, so far in the series, we've had 3 rounds. We've raced at the Circuit de la Sarthe, we've raced at Silverstone, we raced at COTA last time as well. So we kind of try and replicate what the FIA World Endurance Championship does. So this time we're going to be going to Sebring in different cars every time as well. So we've been in the Mazdas, we've been in the Ferraris as well. This time we're going in the Ford GTs, the 2016 Ford GT. That combined with Sebring, Justin, what do you make of that challenge for the teams?
It's gonna be a difficult one. I mean, it's a powerful car, as you can imagine, for those at home that haven't driven it in the game or anything like that. And again, with those bumps, trying to get the throttle on, it's going to be difficult. I certainly expect we're going to be seeing a few people, especially getting on the throttle coming out of corners. We're going to see some people with some spins, some half spins, kicking the back out, all kinds of stuff like that. It's going to, again, throw up some question marks for sure.
Yeah, well, very soon we're going to be getting to the race. Before we get into the race, of course, we must bring you the grid. Now, the way the Le Mans Esports Series work, there is a sprint and endurance race at every single round. So that makes 10 races for the season. The grid for the sprint race comes off the back of a qualifying session which was done earlier. And then the endurance race is a reverse grid of the current championship standings. So after this race, the championship standings will be, the grid will be reversed of those, and that will be how we race. But let's go into the grid then. Fast Racers Forza, who are 4th in the championship, really climbing up the order at the moment. They took their first podium of the season last time, and they start on pole position. Alongside them, formerly known as Jota, it is Total Performance Racing, who had a bit of a bad round last time, so they're going to be looking to bounce back. They're 3rd in the championship on 112 points. Let's go then to row 2 next along. Red Bull Racing, they are 2nd in the standings at the moment, 5 points off the championship leaders who start alongside them. Red Bull unbeaten in the last 4 races. Lazarus alongside them. They have 1 win to their name this season, and they are yet to finish lower than 2nd. So 2 real contenders who are fighting for the championship there on row number 2. Solar Vision Racing are next. They were 3rd and 5th at the last round, took their first podium with that. That gained them 4 places in the championship, moving them to that 6th and final qualifying spot on 53 points. Virtual Drivers by TX3 will be on the outside of row 3. They were 4th after the first round in the championship. They now sit 8th. Rise Motorsport, hugely consistent team. They're 5th in the championship at the moment. They are going to be 7th. 8th place will then be Alien Motorsport, who are 10th in the championship. Row number 5 is going to be Lightspeed Esports and Pashura, 11th in the championship and 7th respectively. So Pashura just outside of those top 6 qualifying spots. Legion of Racers and VP Gaming, 2 teams you could really do with a good result. They're 11th and 12th at the moment. Then we go to row number 7, which is going to be Team Fordzilla and Team Highlands Racing. And then we go to, well, that's of course going to be all there is, because we're missing the Jean Alesi team and the Raging Dragon team as well. So Justin, what do you make of the grid? Fast Racers Sports are on pole. Brilliant result for them.
Yeah, you have to say, especially coming off of that podium, they're definitely going to be ones to watch in this race today. You have the typical Lazarus, Red Bull, Total Performance. Those sorts of guys are going to be ones to watch as well. But again, starting from pole position, it looks really good for fast racers. You have to say, I mean, I wouldn't bet against them at this moment. They've got the momentum, they've got the pole position, and again, it's a very different circuit compared to what we've seen so far this season. So, yeah, I think we could see a very different result as well.
Well, brilliant stuff. We're going to be getting into the race very shortly. Just to remind you, in the sprint race, the top 10 score points only, and in the endurance, everyone scores points. The other big thing about the Le Mans Esports Series is there's $50,000 up for grabs in this qualifying series alone, then a further $100,000 for all the teams once we get to the super final. Overall, there's $200,000 up for grabs. So $10,000 goes to the winner, so that's an important fight to get, but of course they all want to be in that top 6 and qualify through to the super final. Justin, Sebring, turn number 1. Are we all going to get through safely, do you reckon?
That's you know what? In the sprint race, I'm going to say probably not, because I think there's going to be that little bit more desperation with the drivers.
Well, it's going to be a 9-lap race, and then later on we're going to have a 28-lap race for the endurance, where we are going to be expecting 1 pit stop each from the team. So here we go then, we're off away in Racing's Fast Races Forza. It is who are going to lead us down towards the first corner for the first time. Are we all going to get through safely? Total Performance Racing are on their outside there. Then we have Red Bull and Lazarus, the 2 championship leaders who are fighting in 3rd and 4th. Red Bull Racing trying to make it 5 wins on the bounce, and it looks like we're going to be 3 wide as they go down towards turn number 3 for the first time. Almost a little bit of contact there, I think. Fast Races Sports are just managing to hold on to their lead. Lazarus have managed to sneak through to 2nd place there ahead of Red Bull Racing. So an overall a fairly clean start there with Justin, but definitely a little bit of bumping and barging.
Yeah, FRF actually getting away quite well. A lot of the jostling in the back going on, but it looks like Red Bull trying to go around the outside now into this right-hander. Can't quite make that work. We'll have to settle for that 3rd place position for the meantime. But yeah, I have to say that was, as you said, quite a clean start. Several corners where they were actually 3 wide, and somehow everybody's still facing the right direction. That's a great start in my book.
I think already we're seeing what a great combination this is in the Fords at Sebring. 9-lap sprint race to go, and Red Bull here, you can see we're looking at them at the moment. They've won the last 4 races on the bounce. They had a bit of a tricky first round, but since then yet to be beaten. Lazarus haven't finished lower than 2nd, and they currently sit in 2nd place at the moment. But how about Fast Races Forza? What a season they've had. Apart from 1 race, they are yet to finish out of the top 6. They've had a huge handful of 4th place finishes and a 3rd at the last round to go along with it. Can they get their first win as we come onto the Ulmann Straight for the first time? Lazarus and Red Bull, are they trying to work together here, I wonder, to try and close down Fast Races Forza as we come up to complete the first lap? Fast Races Forza, though, doing a fantastic job to get into that lead. No nerves shown from them at the moment as they've pulled just a slight gap over Lazarus and Red Bull. We're on board with virtual drivers by TX3, who could really do with a good result here. They dropped down to 8th in the championship last time, and they're currently 11 points away from a top 6 in the championship.
No major issues, I have to say. Very surprised about that as we complete the first lap. FRF looking strong out in the front. The battle at the moment is definitely for 2nd position between Lazarus and Red Bull. Red Bull looking to go to the right-hand side, now having to go the long way once again. Lazarus defending the inside line into the corner. It's not the first time that we've seen that, and it's worked out quite well so far. And we can see this battle for 2nd is actually starting to heat up. That gap between 3rd and 4th getting smaller, 5th getting involved as well too, and this is all going to do wonders for FRF, of course, because they could just focus on lap times, nailing corner after corner, and just trying to extend that gap as much as they can.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's just what I was about to pick up on there as well, Justin. We've got a queue now forming because Lazarus and Red Bull are worrying a little bit too much about each other. Of course, there's only 5 points between them in the championship. Lazarus first, Red Bull 2nd. So there could be a change if they were to finish the 2nd and 3rd in the championship standings. So for them, this is a real battle for the championship. They don't seem to be too worried about Fast Races Forza, who currently sits 4th in the standings, but their battling is bringing more teams into the party. So there you can see virtual drivers by TX3 next along. They're doing a great job in 4th place at the moment. Then we have Total Performance Racing, Rise, the ever-consistent Rise in 6th. Solar Vision Racing, who got a podium last time, are in 7th. Pashura are in 9th place. Lightspeed Esports just behind them. Then it is Team Fordzilla, Team Highlands Racing, VP Gaming, Legion of Racers rounding out the queue at the moment.
Really close stuff here as we've been talking about this battle for 2nd position, although as we progress through this lap, it does seem that gaps are starting to form once again. the field getting very, very tightly compressed at one point, but the Red Bull car just pulling away ever so slightly as they make their way through that very bumpy final right-hand corner. Not really a hairpin, but it's kind of like a 180-degree corner. You're just turning, and just dealing with the bumps as much as possible. But again, I have to say, as we come on to yet another lap, FRF looking very strong up at the front and just maintaining that gap ahead of Lazarus.
Yeah, it's hugely difficult, isn't it? When you've got a team just in behind you who've won 4 races on the bounce, and then the championship leaders just in front of them as well. It must be hugely difficult to just try and stay focused and not look in your mirrors and keep going.
Yeah, it's got to be extremely difficult, but they're doing a fantastic job so far. As I said, behind in that battle for second, things starting to spread out ever so slightly. We're still not seeing any massive gaps, and we're already a pretty high percentage through this race already, so not too much still to go. So we may start seeing drivers get more and more desperate, in particular that Red Bull car, which we've seen as we got a side-by-side moment through that right-hander there. The inside line's going to work out well, I think. But no, actually, no, not quite. Still side-by-side.
Yeah, that's Team Highlands Racing there, just trying to make a place on VP Gaming, and indeed they have. Legion of Racers just behind, so this is battling going on a little bit further down the field. It's the battle for 11th place rather, as VP Gaming try and dive back down the inside. Team Highlands holding their own around the outside, and then Legion of Racers just trying to get involved but not finding a way through at the moment. But so far so good, no huge incidents from what I could see, and here we go back on board with VP Gaming once again. This is the battle for 11th place, so no points scored for these guys if they were to finish where they were. You have to get inside the top 10 to do that, but sometimes it can turn into a battle of pride more than anything else.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't know who's going to fall off the road up ahead.
Exactly.
So this battle for 11th position could easily become a battle for 9th, 8th, 7th, who knows, as far as what goes on up ahead. Again, it's still pretty close between a lot of the cars as well. Could see some incidents, and again with these bumps, light contact can turn into a huge problem, send you spinning off into the barrier. Oh, the back end stepping out ever so slightly through that final corner. That could give Insanity from VP a good opportunity here on the start-finish straight on the rundown towards turn 1. No, I don't think he's going to be close enough to mount an attack, but he did manage to keep everything pointing in the right direction. Really exciting stuff that we're seeing again in these, and this is for not even points-paying positions. But again, we still have a handful of laps still to go, so you never know what might happen.
I think that's Lightspeed Esports who are now starting to join in as well, so it's going to be 4 in this battle for 11th place. And as you said, all you can do is lead the battle that you're in, because you never know what's going to happen ahead. So that's a point well made there. Is up ahead, it still looks like Fast Racers Forza are leading. I think the last time I looked, it was about an 8/10 advantage they had, as we're going to go a little bit further up the order now. I think this is the Virtual Drivers by TX3 battle that we have just gone to. This is the battle just behind that. In fact, we can see 4th, 5th and 6th this might be all together, and indeed it is. We've got Total Performance Racing and Rise in there as well. There you can see the Total Performance Racing car, Rise 3rd in this queue, and Virtual Drivers by TX3 leading it. So 2 queues of 3 inside the top 6 at the moment. Out front we've got Fast Racers Forza leading Red Bull Racing with Lazarus just behind, and then Virtual Drivers by TX3 lead this battle next along. Virtual Drivers by TX3, they took a podium in the very first race of the season, and since then their best result has been a 6th place, Justin, so this would be a fantastic result for them.
Yeah, and they're right in that part of the championship where it is oh so close. Just a few points extra can make all of the difference in terms of gaining positions as they make their way into the final corner. Are we going to see any mistakes from anybody? So, seeing a few different lines that people are taking, but it's such a wide corner, such a wide open corner as well too. There are a few different lines you can take: double apex it, hug the inside, run the outside line. There's a few different approaches that you can have here. But look at these gaps that we're seeing. We're seeing these packs and then small gaps between the packs. And I mean, just a little bit of racing between any of these packs could easily turn a pack of 3 into a pack of 6, as we have a look at the Red Bull making their way through that first sector. Looking strong at the moment. As you said, it's about 8/10, just dipping down to 7/10 to the gap to the leader for the Red Bull car. So still hanging in there, but they haven't really been pressuring the leader, have they?
No, not quite. Yeah, I think we've had a change, by the way. Just behind this, Total Performance Racing did just make a move. They've now gone into 4th place. So there we can see the battle's still going on. Total Performance Racing having to defend now by virtual drivers by TX3, and now trying to pick up a place is the Rise car. Solar Vision Racing are catching this as well. So Solar Vision Racing, who took a podium last time, closing in. Rise, very consistent team. They're trying to get up into 5th place at the moment. Virtual drivers by TX3 just losing a little bit of rhythm there as they were trying to fight back on the Total Performance Racing car. But Total Performance Racing got now into that 4th place. They need to try and make a gap as quickly as possible now and try and close down the gap to the top 3 if they can. The top 3 at some point, I think, are going to start battling, Justin. If the Total Performance Racing car can have a gap, then they might be able to join that battle later in the race.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think you're right. I think it is likely to happen, especially as these laps tick down, and they are ticking down rather quickly at this point. Less than 5 laps to go at this stage. Having a look at that Red Bull in 2nd position, holding on to that position quite well so far in this race, and it's starting to close up now on the leading car, the Fast Racers Forza car. I think they're definitely getting closer. I think Red Bull might be thinking about mounting an attack here, not into turn 1. I don't think they're not going to be close enough. Yeah, there's several car lengths back as they get into turn 1, but I think it's just all about finding those 10s, closing up to the back, and pouncing when the opportunity presents itself.
Yes, indeed. I think one thing we have to remember, for those of you new to the Le Mans Esports Series, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining us. Hope you're being entertained by this fantastic racing in the Le Mans Esports Series when there's not much around to watch at the moment, is there? But one thing we have to remember is these are 16 of the best esports teams in the world. Fast Racers Forza, Red Bull Racing, Lazarus, the latter two being very familiar names, of course, to anyone, let alone esports fans. And this is how close it is. It comes down to hundredths, tenths of a second, and it's very hard when fighting for a race lead to wear a race leader down. These guys don't make many mistakes at all, and when they do, you have to take your chances, and I think Red Bull are just waiting for that opportunity at the moment. They're doing a great job to keep the pressure on Fast Racers Forza. It's whether they can now force them into a mistake, but likewise they've got to be careful of Lazarus as well. I think, Justin, we're talking about the battling, but of course these guys don't really need to do anything silly, do they? They're not desperate for points. Red Bull and Lazarus have pretty much qualified for the super final now already, so I guess they're just being sensible as well.
Yeah, you don't want to be I mean, they're thinking about the grand scheme of things. They're thinking about the championship, which is exactly what they need to be doing if you want to be a champion in any form of motorsport, virtual or real. You have to think about the long term. You got to make good, smart decisions, and you have to make sure you don't ruin your own race or anybody else's race, picking up penalties, all that kind of stuff. I have to say, by the way, Toys, the FRF driver that's held on to the lead ever since the very start after taking that pole position. I have to say, for a team that has not won a race so far this season, they're really handling this pressure very well as we just come to the end of lap number 6. So just 3 laps still to go, and we haven't seen any sort of issues for that leading FRF car.
Yeah, I have to say, since the second race at the first round, their worst result was 14th, but they've had 3 4th place finishes and a 3rd in the space of 5 races. As we now go back to the battle for, this is just a little bit behind, isn't it? This is the battle for 5th place, which is being led by virtual drivers by TX3, Rise Motorsport there in 6th place, Solar Vision Racing just behind. So this is a battle that's heating up. Total Performance Racing, we talked about them escaping. Indeed, they have done now as we come down towards the hairpin. This for the 7th time of asking, and there we can see virtual drivers by TX3 just going slightly defensive. Rise not able to get through at the moment. Solar Vision Racing perhaps waiting to pick up the pieces in the background. So this is going to be a battle that could perhaps go all the way to the flag now.
Oh yeah, I would say that's extremely likely. Oh, really closing up there was Chris Cabrera, getting very close to the back of that car ahead, but managing not to make any sort of contact. I haven't seen a lot of issues, in fact, with these drivers. Everybody going very, very cleanly, very respectful driving that we're seeing. But yeah, you could just see that Solar Vision car in the background there. just lurking and looking to possibly grab a position as the car ahead here is starting to break away. So that could be an opportunity for Solar Vision here. You can see they're running so close to the car ahead. So I think we could potentially see an overtake attempt brewing in the very near future here.
Yeah, Rise, very good team. They have yet to finish outside of the top 10 this season, Rise. Their worst result was 10th, and that was in the very first race of the season at Circuit de Lazarus. So very impressive so far for them. They don't make any mistakes, and when they do recover from them very quickly. As they run a little bit wide there, though, just on cue, Rise decided to make a fraction of mistake, either that or it was just a different line. I think that last corner, I think you touched on it before, Justin, it doesn't seem there's any right way of going around it. It's just whichever way you can make work.
Yeah, or even just what's right for your setup, you know. The setup of your car could definitely change the line there. But yeah, as I said, Solar Vision definitely looking very racy there. I think they're the most likely ones to possibly make an overtake attempt. We saw it there at the final corner, penultimate lap now. So as I said, as these laps tick down, these guys are going to be getting more and more desperate to try and make up positions, especially if there's points involved.
Well, we can see staying with this battle at the moment. Just to give you an update on the leaders, I think it's about 6/10 now between Fast Racers Forza and Red Bull Racing. Those of you who have watched every round, you will know that the endurance races tend to be a little bit more hectic than the sprint races, given they are a reverse grid of the championship standings. So for those of you watching for the first time, stay with us for the endurance race. It's going to be a 28 lapper with a pit stop. And I promise you now, it is going to be a very hectic one as the championship leaders try and fight their way through from the back of the grid. All in the same cars as well, of course, which treats us to this very close racing, which we are seeing at the moment as we go onto the, now down towards turn number 10, I think that is. And we can see Rise here just trying to keep this pressure up on virtual drivers by TX3. Up in the distance are Total Performance Racing. Solar Vision have yet to make their impact. Just a little bit further back, well, there we can see Rise now with Solar Vision Racing getting a little bit closer. It almost looked like Solar Vision, as they took a little bit more curve there, were almost thinking about lining up a move now. Last time we came down this straight, Solar Vision Racing almost were able to get a move done on Rise. Will they try this time? Let's wait and see as they come through Sunset Bend. Are Solar Vision going to try anything? Well, they're going to think about it at least, and Solar Vision not quite able to get through there, Justin.
Holding that very, very tight line, really just trying to, I think hoping really for a mistake from the car ahead, because of course, if the bumps throw them off or if they get some understeer, that's going to open a gap at the inside of the corner. But unfortunately, it just did not work out for them. Final lap now. Again, this is just the sprint race. We got the endurance race coming up, a 28-lap endurance race still to come in today's broadcast, but we are getting very near to the end of this sprint race now. Not many opportunities still left on this circuit in this race for these guys to try and pick up some positions. Here's one driver that is not looking to pick up any positions, though. That is the FRF car, still leading the way as it has done since we went green flag racing at the very beginning.
Now, Justin, how impressed have you been with this Fast Racers Forza team? 4th in the championship, and they're holding off a team that has been unbeatable for the last few rounds. They've done a fantastic job, haven't they?
Oh yeah, I got it. Again, they were on my radar already, and then they picked up that pole position already with, as well, which just makes things even more interesting. And just see what they were able to do from the front, maintain that composure. Because what a lot of people don't realize with sim racing is it's very easy, or I say that loosely. It's easy to be fast. It's difficult to be fast when you're under pressure, you know. And this is great pressure management we're seeing here.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well, Fast Racers Forza, so they're only going to have a couple of corners left now to hold on from pole position. They managed to get themselves just a little bit of a gap at the start as Red Bull and Lazarus fought between them with virtual drivers by TX3. But since then, Red Bull have thrown absolutely everything at it to try and close down Fast Racers Forza, but they have not made any mistakes at all. Just Sunset Bend remaining now for Fast Racers Forza as they get on the brakes and swoop through the long right-hander, and it's going to be their first win of the season. They took their first podium last time, and they improve on that with a win this time. Fast Racers Forza take the sprint victory at round number 1. Second will go to Red Bull Racing, and it's yet another podium this season for Lazarus. That is their worst result of the season with a third. How impressive is that, though? Brilliant racing all around in the sprint race from the Mans Esports Series. Another good race at round number 4 in the sprint, and we have a new winner in Fast Races Forza. Red Bull Racing and Lazarus, the 2 championship leaders, continue their consistency, but a new winner in Fast Races Forza. A good race, I'd say. There wasn't a huge amount of overtaking there, Justin, but very close and very intense racing.
I got to say, I'm really impressed with the way that these drivers tackled that course. Very few issues. I really thought the bumps were going to be a big problem, but you can tell these guys have been practicing a lot to be able to keep the car on the tarmac, facing the right direction, no issues. Some fantastic battling as well, too. Very respectful driving, which we always love seeing. And yeah, just a fantastic race. As you said, not a ton of overtakes, but we did see quite a few side-by-side moments and just not that many problems as well, which I think is what led to sort of the lack of overtakes that you might expect, is just because everybody was doing such a great job of driving.
Yeah, well, it's become a trend, as I said in the Le Mans Esports Series. The sprint races tend to be very close, not huge amounts of overtaking, but then the endurance completely different. So how do you see this endurance race going now?
That's going to be the interesting one. It's going to be very difficult. There are a few overtaking locations at Sebring, so it's not one of those circuits where you have exactly one spot to overtake. There's a few places where you can get it done. So it's going to open up some opportunities for these guys, but there's still those challenges, and not many of them would have had a lot of experience in that sprint race with doing any sort of overtaking. So it's going to be a tough one out there for them, but at the same time, I think the track can somewhat be helpful. We'll see if the bumps play a bigger role in this 28-lap race.
Well, let us know what you're thinking, guys, wherever you're watching from. We're going across a lot of different platforms this evening, but get on Twitter, use the hashtag LMES, and let us know what you thought of that race. Fast Races Forza, first win for them. How much have they impressed you? Who do you think are now the ones to watch going into this second race? Don't forget, it's a reverse. It's a grid reversed of the championship standings. Now, Justin, if you were going to run a championship, would that be something you would do, or would you think that is, that's too crazy to do a reverse grid of the championship standings? I think personally, there isn't a bigger challenge than putting the championship leaders at the back throughout the entire season and going, now you have to do some overtaking.
Exactly right. I mean, it forces overtaking, and it really allows people to shine in that skill. It's very different to just putting the car on pole and having a lights to flag victory like we just saw from Fast Racers Forza. It's a very different sort of scenario, and so we're testing a lot of different skills with these drivers, and overtaking is going to be one of those skills. They're going to have some traffic to get through, some slight. We're not talking about huge gaps in speed, so. For somebody to overtake a car that's ahead of them, it's still going to be difficult no matter who it is on who. Any two combination of drivers, and it's going to be a good time.
Well, as I said, guys, hashtag MLES, get those comments coming in. We're going to go to a quick break shortly, but before we do, we're going to have a quick look at the championship standings, I believe. And don't forget, these championship standings will reverse that for the grid. So I think we might be getting those up in just a second. But speaking of the championship, Justin, as I said, for these top teams now, particularly Lazarus, Red Bull and Top Performance Racing, they've probably qualified for the super final. I guess for them that comes to the money, because $10,000 up for grabs for the winner, and every single team will bring home some cash.
Yeah, that's not a small amount of money in any economy. That's a huge motivation, no doubt about it. As you said, though, a little bit further behind, it is quite a bit closer. Fast Racers coming into this event with 74 points, Rise on 54 points, and that's the biggest gap you'll find outside of the top 3. So it's very, very close. It's only 1 point, or it was only 1 point between Rise and Solar Vision coming into this. So again, there are a lot of positions to be made up, especially in the midfield, the top 3. As you said, kind of broken away. All 3 of them have over 100 points. It is only a 5-point gap between Lazarus and Red Bull, though, so there is still positions to be found within the top 3 as well. And Total Performance Racing, you never know. They could put in some amazing performances. They'll need a little bit of bad luck, I think, from the top 2, but anything can happen.
Yeah, that's it. As we've just seen, and more coming into this round, I have to say it was very close. Getting into this top six, extremely close. There's a number of teams who can do it because there was 27 points between 5th all the way down to 11th in the championship. That could be closer now after that race. Who knows? We'll get a look at that championship standings in just a second, I'm sure. That battle is going to be really intense, particularly going into next round. This is the 4th of 5th round, Justin. But for these guys, this is going to be their only chance to qualify for the super final. Williams qualified through by the Autosport show. There's 2 wildcards, but these top 6, if they don't qualify here, then they're going to have to wait till next year, and that will be a really, really long way.
Yeah, and again, the top 6, especially for 5th and 6th position, Fast Racers Forza, especially after that win, they are going to be a little bit more comfortable compared to before the sprint race that we just had. So they're going to be feeling a little bit better. They've got that momentum as well, too, which I imagine they're going to be carrying into the endurance race, which could even just create a bigger gap between themselves and 5th and 6th position. So they might be feeling really good about that. But yeah, we're talking about a gap of only 10 points coming into this weekend's racing between Solar Vision and Pachura Moto Center Esports. So really not much in it. And yeah, it's a bit of a strange circuit as well. It could make things very interesting. It's going to be tough for these guys. And as you said, we're getting right down to the wire. There's only 5 weekends of racing, and this is the 4th one. So, and that leads me to believe that we are potentially going to see a bit more desperation. We're going to see, moves that people wouldn't otherwise do if we were in the opening round, for example.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, isn't it? Well, there we can go now. We've got the championship standings. Of course, you've got to remember, guys, this is a broadcast where we're coming through from multiple different locations to get this to you. So you're going to have to bear with us at times. But here we can see great work from the guys. We've got the championship standings. Look how close it is now between Lazarus and Red Bull. Just 2 points between them, which will mean if Red Bull go and win the next race, and they will leave the championship. Well, they will leave this round at the top of the standings, but 2 points between Lazarus and Red Bull. Total Performance Racing in a comfortable 3rd. Likewise, with that win, Fast Racers Forza are now in a comfortable 4th. And then this is when it gets really close. Don't forget the top 6 qualify through to the super final. Rise are there in 5th. Solar Vision 6, just 3 points back. It is then 7 points between Solar Vision and Virtual Drivers by TX3, who move up a place. So a much needed good result for Virtual Drivers, who were sort of falling down the order a little bit. Bashura, a good result from them as well. They stay within the top 8 of the championship. Team Fordzilla, who had 1 point after the first round, they're in 9th at the moment. Not the best race for them there. Let's see what they can do in the endurance. Alien have been 10th pretty much the entire way in the championship, so very consistent for them. Lightspeed Esports 11th. Then we have, of course, John Alesi are not with us this round. VP Gaming are 13th. Team Highlands 14th. Legion of Racers 15th. Raging Dragon couldn't make it for the sprint, but they will join us for the endurance race, and they will be on pole position as well. So that's going to be some challenge, isn't it, Justin, for Raging Dragon? We're going to talk more. We're going to get the thoughts of you guys and the thoughts from Justin in just a second. But for now, we're going to take a very quick break. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're getting closer to the endurance race here from the Mans Esports Series, this round number 4. Myself, Chris McCarthy, and Justin Sutton over in the US, bringing you the coverage this evening. We're going to go. We're going to get some comments from you guys now. I think it's hashtag LMES. If you want to send in your thoughts, we'll get some more up on screen after the endurance race. While we're waiting, Justin, I did mention to you before we went to the break about Raging Dragon having missed the sprint. Now they have to be on pole for the endurance. That makes a hard challenge even harder, right?
Yeah, I don't envy the driver in that situation. That's going to be a tough one. A lot of defending is going to have to be done, and or I mean, I guess they don't have to, but I imagine they're going to want to do a lot of defending. So it's going to be difficult. And as I touched on before, there are several locations to overtake at Sebring. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of defending the inside line, I think. And yeah, it's just going to be a huge challenge. And having seen those most recent updated standings as well, it's even closer now between the top six and the rest of the field. It was 10 points coming into this. It's now down to, I believe it was just 7 points. So it's actually, things are getting even closer for that all important top six now.
For those of you losing track of time during this broadcast, I hope that helped you out while we were here from Justin there. Here's our first one. We've got FIA WEC sending us their views. Thank you very much, guys. We're going out through their platforms this evening as well. FIA WEC, of course, not postponed events for them at the moment. Hopefully we're going to have more FIA World Endurance Championship back as soon as possible. This is something I think the Le Mans Esports Series, we run in conjunction with the FIA World Endurance Championship. And what a great time for us to still be going to help fill the gap that has sort of sadly been filled there for the FIA World Endurance Championship, like all the championships around, not being able to go at the moment. But this, we're able to bring some racing for you guys through the Le Mans Esports Series. There we go. Red Bull Racing saying it best. Your Saturday night is filled here, wherever you are around the world. If it's Saturday morning, Sunday morning, who knows? But hopefully you're enjoying all the racing. And I think we're going to get one more on screen as well before we go into a little bit more analysis for the second race. While that's coming up, I'm just going to go back to you, Justin. You commentate on a lot of different esports. You have done over the years, and you've probably been very busy recently as well. How do you compare the Le Mans Esports Series to others you've worked on?
It's a lot of fun, I have to say. It's hard to. They all have strengths and weaknesses. And great parts, and you just got to focus on the positives. And I have to say, I really enjoy, for example, the variety of cars. I love that the Le Mans Esports follows the real season. It's unfortunate that that pairing sort of isn't there at the moment, but we got to make do with what we have. I was lucky enough to experience my first World Endurance Championship race earlier this year at Circuit of the Americas. I went along and I was doing some tweeting on the Le Mans Esports Twitter account, taking some videos. I saw an Aston Martin Vulcan while I was there that got, I was feeling like a 12-year-old listening to that thing going up turn one. It was just a lot of fun. And I have to say, it was truly unbelievable, that experiencing the WEC live in person for the first time. It was fantastic. And the Le Mans Esports, it really captures a lot of that excitement and variety that you see in WEC as well too. So it's definitely one of the best out there. I'm having a lot of fun already, having only done the sprint race so far and looking very much ahead to that endurance race. But yeah, it's been truly fantastic. And we saw some incredible racing in that first race, didn't we?
Yeah, fantastic racing. And to remind you, their super final, which they're trying to qualify for, is going to be at the Le Mans 24-hour, like it was last year. Have you ever been to the Le Mans 24-hour yourself, Justin?
I have not, but that is definitely a goal of mine, 100%.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? The atmosphere. I've got to say, last year being there and doing it live, we had lots of the drivers coming in who wanted to get on the rigs themselves and have a go. And that is something that a lot of the drivers have been doing recently, of course, to keep themselves sharp. But I think we're going to get into the grid. Don't forget, the championship leaders are going to be going off the very back of the grid. The guys towards the back of the championship are going to be going off the front of the grid. So that should be coming up in just a second for you. Don't forget, 15 teams, not all 16 here with us this time. Jean Alesi not able to be with us for this round, and Raging Dragon unfortunately missed the sprint, but they're going to be here for this endurance race, and they're going to be going off pole position as well. Justin, I think one of the challenges, isn't it? It's going to be who can get through the field the quickest. And not only that, but we're expecting one pit stop. So they're going to have to think wisely of when to make that pit stop.
Yeah, they're going to have to think about the traffic. The strategy is going to be more of a factor compared to the sprint race that we saw just a little bit ago. Yeah, there's a number of differences, and it's not just about overtaking as quickly as you can, because then you may end up going for a desperate move that's always bound to end in tears, something like that. So yeah, it's going to be a different set of skills. They're going to have to be able to read the situation and attack when they have the opportunity.
Yes, indeed. So, well, in the last round, we did think that there might have been one pit stop. Some teams did it, some teams didn't. We are suggesting that there is going to be a pit stop this time, from what we're hearing from the team. So that's going to make things interesting. A pit stop always adds in a different element to a race, doesn't it, Justin? And there's always that part of the race where you don't really know who's going to be where, but then it kind of sorts itself out once we get to the end.
Yeah, the thing about pit stops is you can actually gain or lose a lot more time in a pit stop than you can in an entire lap of racing, to be honest. You know, if you gain half a second on the car ahead in a lap, that means you're doing amazing, or the car ahead made a huge mistake. Whereas it's very easy to gain or lose half a second in the pits.
Well, here we go. Grid about to come up for you. More points up for grabs this time. Only the top 10 score points in the sprint race. This time, everyone scores points. If you're outside of the top 10, you only score the one. Well, here we go. We're away and racing. Apologies, we couldn't quite get the grid to you, but you know what it's going to be anyway. The last guys in the championship will go off the front of the grid, and that is Raging Dragon, and they currently lead the way. But Fordzilla, they're trying to make some positions at the moment. I think that was them trying to go, oh, we've got a spinner. Car off. In the background there, we'll pick up the running in just a second. The division have dropped down towards the back of the field. Fast Racers Forza are up to 12th. Red Bull Racing are up to 11th. It's Team Highlands, I'm afraid, who have gone off. Unfortunately, they're now at the very back of the field. Raging Dragon are in the lead. VP Gaming are in second. Alien Motorsport are in third place at the moment as we go down towards the hairpin for the first time. I think I saw a change being on for third there. Let's have a look. There we can see, yes, Alien have lost third place. So Alien drop a place. They're now down to fourth. It is Lightspeed Esports who are up into third place. Alien Motorsport still under pressure now from Virtual Drivers by TX3. Then it's Fordzilla, Legion of Racing, Total Performance Racing, Lazarus, Solar Vision, Rise, Fast Racers Forza. A slow start for them in 12th. Likewise, Red Bull in 13th. Then it's Team Highlands and Bashura as well, who's had a difficult start to the race.
Yeah, somehow Team Highlands actually moving up into second to last, so it seems that there's been another issue on the circuit at some point. So it's good news for them, I suppose, if you look at it that way. But starting to see some actually pretty sizable gaps in the field starting to form. There are still several packs. This is a very close pack of cars. You can see they're actually very tight for third position as they make their way through that right-hander coming onto the straight. Now, are we going to see some side-by-side action into that very long final corner? I think we are, as looking up the inside, heading into the braking zone now. Are we going to see actually a three-way battle into this final corner? No, not quite. Oh, Lightspeed around the outside. Oh, and somebody's off there. That is Lightspeed actually going very far off the circuit. That's going to lose them a few tenths of a second at least, and at least a couple of positions as well. But they're still in the race.
Yeah, they're now side by side with Fordzilla, or Fordzilla just tucking back in to the slipstream to try and get a run. Turn 3 is where they'll be sure I'm trying to make a place. Oh, and we've got one of the teams there. That was the Virtual Drivers by TX3. I think that was getting all out of shape going in towards turn number 1. They've now lost a couple of positions himself. There we can see Aurelian Mallet. We've got live coverage from him throughout this race, live pictures from him. He is in the Red Bull racing car, Aurelian Mallet. And at the moment he's trying to make some positions up. Had to start from the back row of the grid with the Red Bull Racing driver, as they are second in the championship, but he'll be hoping to get his way up the field and leave with the championship lead at the end of round 4 going into the final round. Behind a queue of cars at the moment, Aurelian Mallet, Justin, I think just trying to wait for things to calm down and then pick off some positions after that.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere to go for Lage. Where are you going to go? I mean, the track is 2.5 cars wide, and they're side by side ahead of him. So I don't think he's going to be making it through there. You can see, again, the frustration that he's experiencing at the moment. Oh, could be an opportunity here. Car off to the right-hand side. I think that was the Fordzilla dropping behind, actually. And Red Bull Racing up a position. And, oh, slight contact with the car ahead, but the Lazarus does manage to keep everything pointing in the right direction. But now up into 6th position already on lap 2.
Yeah, Team Fordzilla and Legion of Racers getting caught up in something there. Both of them are now outside of the top 10. So there was a slight incident. We saw it on board with the Red Bull car that Red Bull Racing then now tucked in behind the Lazarus car as we head down towards Sunset Bend. Just up ahead, I think that is the Alien Motorsport car. Is that the Total Performance car? I think that's just making up a place, and indeed it looks like it is. Lazarus are now trying to follow them through, so that's Total Performance Racing up into 3rd place. Lazarus go up to 4th place, so good job that from the Total Performance Racing car, quickly moving their way up the field. They started the race down in 13th place, and at the end of 3 laps they now sit in 3rd place, and they'll start chasing after VP Gaming and our race leaders Alien Motorsport.
Yeah, Alien Motorsport doing a fantastic job. We still have a lot of racing still to go, though. We're only 2 laps done. Oh, that's some heavy contact with the back end. That was the Lazarus, I think, making contact with somebody, and the back end just stepping out. I don't think they went for a full spin, though, if I'm not mistaken. So I think everybody is still heading in the right direction, so that's good news for them. But it was a difficult angle, so it's tough to say if anybody was at fault for that one or if that was just a racing incident, which is more likely given the types of drivers that we have in this series. You can see the back end trying to step out there once again on the Solar Vision as well, just coming out of that tight right-hander. But yeah, still a lot of cars just battling it out and trying to gain positions wherever they possibly can. It's an absolute melee out there.
It is indeed very hectic stuff, isn't it? But once again, we're seeing this pattern of we've got a leader off in the distance and everyone trying to sort themselves out behind. Alien Motorsport have to try and take advantage of this now. They have to try and build on this gap. You can see they're being hunted down at the moment. So the top 2, in fact, have both escaped. We're on board with 5th place at the moment. There you can see the VP Gaming car coming under pressure from Total Performance Racing, and Total Performance Racing are through. Good move. That's Lazarus now trying to take advantage as well as we come onto the back straight, and indeed Lazarus have also gone through as well. Red Bull Racing going with them, so Red Bull kind of stuck on the tail of Lazarus throughout the majority of this race so far. And with it, they have been able to follow Lazarus up the order. So it was Virtual Drivers by TX3, who made the move and went into 3rd. Total Performance Racing are up ahead in 2nd, chasing after Alien Motorsport, who lead the way at the moment. So that completes 3 laps. This is now lap number 4 of 28, Justin.
Fantastic stuff. Loving it so far. Ooh, looking up the inside on the Lazarus car into turn 1. Not too bumpy through there, so looking pretty comfortable, but the Lazarus does manage to carry enough speed at the exit to maintain that position. And looking very strong at the moment, coming under threat into turn 1, but again, doing a great job. Very late apex to that left-hander there, nearly opening up a door, possibly inviting an overtake potentially if they're not careful about that one. Long run down towards this next heavy braking zone now. Will we see another overtake opportunity here? Doesn't look like it. They're going to be a couple of car lengths back, and I think Lazarus is going to hold on to that position for the meantime, getting very close to the back end of that Ford GTE, though, through that right-hander. But again, Lazarus looking very strong at corner exit.
Yes, they are indeed, Lazarus, so doing a good job. At the moment, they're there in 4th place. This is actually Rise, we're on board with, apologies. Red Bull Racing in 7th place at the moment. Solar Vision Racing in 6th. So Rise Motorsport, very consistent. And once again, they are doing a fantastic job so far. Rise now moving up the field. We can see Lazarus just ahead of us. Things have settled down just a bit now. Solar Vision are just behind us. Red Bull are trying to close in on Solar Vision at the moment. I think Red Bull may have ran wide at the start of the lap when there was a little bit of chaos going on into turn 1. I think I did see a car disappear. That may have been them, but we're side by side for the lead, so hopefully we can get back to the leaders in just a second, because it looks like we were side by side as they were heading up towards Sunset Bend. So hopefully we get a view of them, because I can see the 2 leaders side by side, and indeed we now pick them up. Alien are ahead of Total Performance Racing at the moment, so that was defensive driving going on from Alien Motorsport. But now down the inside, it looked like Total Performance Racing had got the run, but they're going to have to get back into the slipstream. Total Performance Racing not going to be able to get a move done just yet. All are they? It looks like Alien Motorsport may have ran just a little bit wide there, and Total Performance Racing have found a gap. Or have they? Seems to be changing every time, but Total Performance Racing, indeed, they take the lead. Alien, in the end, decided not to fight them too hard. Alien Motorsport backing out of that battle. I think, Justin, we've seen this throughout the season. When the championship leaders catch up the guys who started a little bit further up the field. For Alien Motorsport, they're 10th in the championship. They don't want to lose any time, so they're better off tucking in behind Total Performance Racing and just trying to follow them and maintain a gap to the rest of the field.
Exactly right, because they do have a fairly sizable gap to the group that's behind them at the moment, and they're going to be doing their best to try to maintain that, and they're going to be really hoping for a lot of battling. So at the moment, they might be turning into Lazarus fans, saying, come on, Lazarus, get alongside and force them into a bit of battling, because that's only going to help the top two to try and maintain their positions as best as they can. We're having a look at Lazarus now, who are in that battle for what is currently third position, but of course we are expecting lots of changes of position in this race. But at the moment, I have to say, Total Performance have done they've done probably the best job out of the top teams as far as getting to the front, taking the lead of the race from Alien Motorsport, and they are leading the way with a pretty sizable gap between second and third, feeling pretty comfortable at the moment. Meanwhile, their rivals of Lazarus and Red Bull, they're locked in these battles sort of in the midfield, just outside the podium positions or for the final podium position. And it's going to be great news for Total Performance Racing, who now lead the race after that fantastic overtake at Turn 1 on Alien Motorsport.
Well, we spent a lot of time on board with Rise. One thing we didn't see is in the background there, you can see not only are Solar Vision catching or in this battle, shall we say, but you can see Red Bull Racing are also in there as well, as are Fast Racers Forza Race 1 winners. They are also at the back of this queue. So this stretches all the way back to 8th. There's a good view of it. This battle going from Virtual Drivers by TX3, I think that is, just ahead of us, going all the way back to the car in 8th place. So really close battle this at the moment. It is your battle for third race. For Fast Racers Sports at the back of the queue. They're in 8th place at the moment. Who is going to make the first move in all of this is the question, as we have another look at Lazarus, their worst result of the season, third at the moment. But they are under pressure from Rise as we go into the hairpin for the 6th time.
Rise looking very strong, of course, being pushed by Solar Vision as well, who are right behind. So, and that's the problem when you're in the middle of one of these packs. You're having to attack and defend simultaneously. You're having to use those mirrors and also come up with inventive ways to try and get ahead of the car. Having to look on board with Lage, who is kind of at the back of this pack, or in the second half of this 6-car pack at the moment, and currently in 7th position in this battle for what is currently 3rd place and running behind Solar Vision. But no major mistakes, honestly, that we've seen from really any of these drivers within the last few laps or so, or at least none that I've picked up on. So everybody doing a fantastic job of navigating this extremely difficult circuit and having a look at Lage. And, you know, he's looking cool as a cucumber, you have to say. He doesn't look like he's got a car right on his rear end while he's trying to overtake the Solar Vision. He looks like he's just, you know, having a casual Sunday afternoon drive, or Saturday afternoon drive in my case. So yeah, he's looking comfortable at the moment, but he's got to get a move on. Now, there are still a lot of laps still to go. Oh, I think he heard me there as he goes up the inside into the final corner on the Solar Vision. Side by side, looking to make it 3 wide nearly, actually, as they come out. Is he going to have the speed at the exit in order to get ahead of the Solar Vision? I don't think so. They're going to be side by side into turn 1.
Yes, they are. Red Bull, is Aurelian going to be brave around the outside? Yes, he is. Great driving that from Aurelian. Mallet, that is not how I look when I'm racing, when we saw the visuals there from Aurelian Mallet. Yeah, I was going to say, smashed screens and remote controls flying around the place. But Aurelian Mallet doing a great job there, and around the outside at turn number 1 to pick up that place. Fast Racers Forza, I think we're able to follow him through. So Solar Vision dropping 2 places out of that. They now go down to 8th place. There we can see the Lazarus car, and Red Bull trying to make another move here, down to the hairpin, down the inside of the Rise car, and Red Bull Motorsport, that's another place for them. 5th place now for Red Bull. Lazarus next on their list. So it seems that Aurelian Mallet has stayed patient so far, Justin, but now he's almost being given the word in his ear, and it's time to get a move on.
It's almost like as soon as any sort of gaps started to open up, because they were effectively running nose to tail, that entire group of 6 cars for several laps as well. And it was really impressive to see. But as soon as any sort of weakness started to develop, the Red Bull car just started to pick up on that. Oh, here we go. Things getting very tasty with the rise up ahead as we make our way through this very difficult section. Oh, there we go. Up the inside on the rise into the right-hander, and job done. And that's a fantastic overtake and moving themselves up a position. That's the Red Bull just up the road. I see a little bit of grass being kicked up. Someone running just a little bit wide through that penultimate corner and now accelerating down towards Sunset Bend, that final 180-degree sort of medium speed corner, I would say. Again, it's not quite a hairpin, turning in at very high speed, slamming down on the brakes, loving this onboard through this. You can see just how bumpy this circuit is and the sort of thing that these drivers are having to deal with as they power on to the start-finish straight. And we're starting to see a lot more overtakes now, and I'm not too surprised by that. I think we're in store for at least a few more over the course of the next few laps.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move that we had it on board with there with Fast Racers Forza, isn't it? Rise just dropping back now. They're just going to have to try and tuck in behind Fast Racers Forza, work with them here. They've got Solar Vision behind them as well. It looked like there was another close battle going on behind this, which hopefully we'll pick up on in just a second. This is the battle. Solar Vision are in 8th, so it would have been the battle for 9th place, and I'm sure we'll have a look at it at some point. It was between Lightspeed Esports and Team Fordzilla. They're battling over 9th place at the moment, but we continue to watch this battle for 7th between Solar Vision Racing and Rise Motorsport. Rise Motorsport just seem to be struggling a little bit at the moment, Justin. They've just lost a little bit of momentum. Here was the other battle we were referring to, the battle for 9th, Lightspeed Esports versus Team Fordzilla. Another home race for Team Fordzilla, if you like, as well as round number 3, which was at Kota. And Team Fordzilla, they had a strong run after the first round in rounds 2 and 3, but just struggling a little bit at this round. Team Fordzilla, we were 9th in the championship coming into this, really could do with a couple of top 6 finishes, I think, to try and boost themselves up the order and challenge for that top 6 in the championship.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that, and unfortunately, at the moment, it's not looking like it's going their way. Again, they're locked in that battle for 9th position, seem to be having a bit of a difficult time getting past the light speed. You can see that they are just nose to tail through that penultimate corner, though. Things looking pretty strong for the Fordzilla, but they just need to try and actually make that overtake. Having a look at the total performance and just seeing how things are looking for our current race leader as they come onto the start-finish straight, and looking pretty sizable gap, actually. It looks like Alien Motorsports could be starting to fall into the clutches of some cars behind, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the main thing you want to pay attention to there is fuel at the bottom right-hander, just under 60% fuel. We're expecting one stop, as I think actually we're about to have a change for second in the background. I did see someone trying to make a move down the inside, so we'll get a look at that in just a second and see if there has been any changes. Here it is. This is the Alien Motorsport car under all sorts of pressure now from the virtual drivers by TX3 team and the Lazarus team as well. So Alien Motorsport, who a couple of laps ago lost that lead to Total Performance Racing, now having to defend. But well, defending from Total Performance Racing was hard, Justin, but how many drivers? Look at that, 4 teams now to try and hold off. That's going to be difficult.
And there's a couple more not that far back either, so that's essentially 6 cars that are looking to relegate the Alien Motorsports. Again, our former race leader dropped down to second position, lost a bit of time to Total Performance, and now they find themselves in this very dangerous situation of potentially being dropped well down the order, not outside the top 10 necessarily, but I believe this would drop them down to 8th if all of those cars were to overtake them. So this is going to be a tough one for Alien Motorsports. I don't envy the position that they're in currently, because it's a tough track, tough competition, and again, just look how close all of these cars are. I think actually the car behind just tapping the Alien Motorsport car that we saw just a little bit earlier, so just getting onto the brakes a little bit earlier than the cars behind are expecting. Are we going to see any side-by-side moments on the run down towards Sunset Bend? I think we will, actually, just ahead. I think Alien Motorsport are coming under attack. They didn't defend the inside line, which means they're going to have to hold it around the outside into this final corner. They may end up losing 2, possibly even 3 positions positions here as they're just getting onto the throttle now to try and save themselves from losing a second position. If they can keep this line, they'll have the inside line through turn one, which we've seen has been beneficial for teams and drivers so far in this race already. If they can be late enough into the brakes, they can hold on to this position, but no, it looks like they're not going to. They're going to lose 2 positions and drop down, and they're going to have to worry about a few more cars now, one of those being the Red Bull. Oh, getting very close, making contact even. Oh, and up the inside goes the FRF car, trying to make 2 positions, and it looks like they're going to do it.
Yeah, well, Fast Racer Sports are there. Very opportunistic driving, brilliant stuff. As we have a look back there, you can see Fast Racer Sports to Red Bull Racing just going in to the back there of the Alien Motorsport car down towards turn 3, and unfortunately it ran the pair wide. Fast Racer Sports took advantage, and brilliant driving from FRF. Now they get themselves up into what I believe now is 5th place for them, so 4th place even, sorry. So good racing, good driving that from Fast Racer Sports. We go on board with Red Bull Racing. We've got live pictures coming from Aurélien Mallet this evening during this race as well, which we will be bringing you throughout the stream. It doesn't look like he's actually in an intense battle when you watch him, but he certainly is. Aurélien Mallet. Fast Racer Sports are just ahead. That would have frustrated him a little bit. Alien Motorsport really losing out of that as well, but Red Bull Racing, they've given themselves just a little bit of work to do at this stage. However, Justin, that looks like a battle that is just about to get even more intense for second, doesn't it, up ahead?
Yeah, these drivers are not practicing good social distancing at the moment. In fact, they are running in some very, very tight packs currently. We do encourage everybody at home to practice social distancing, of course, but yeah, we can enjoy a bit of bumping and grinding from these guys. We did see that Red Bull car making contact with the car up ahead. We're having a look at the Lazarus making their way through that final corner. Are they going to be close enough to mount an attack into turn 1? I don't think so. It's not the longest of acceleration zones, and it's not the heaviest of braking zones either on this start-finish straight. I did mention earlier that there are several overtaking locations, and turn 1 is actually not one of the ones that I was thinking of when I said that. You can overtake at turn 1, but it is not easy.
There we can see another move in the background. I think that was the Rise car trying to make a move coming down towards turn number 3. Either that or it was some defensive driving. We'll see an update in just a second whether there was any moves made, but Lazarus, we've been watching a lot of them so far this evening. They've been in battles throughout the sprint race and again in the endurance race. Well, they were tagged there ever so slightly from Fast Racer Sports, and virtual drivers by TX3 will gain just a little bit of a gap out of that now, but Lazarus just getting pushed into a little bit of a half spin, but no problems for them as Fast Racer Sports are now trying to move down the inside. There's a little bit of contact, but Fast Racer Sports, well, they gave it a good go here. Very keen to get wide as quickly as possible, Justin, but Lazarus making that car as wide as possible as once again Fast Racer Sports to try, and they're going to a half spin. Lazarus, somehow they're still in 3rd place.
Incredible stuff. They were almost tandem drifting through that corner, although against the wishes of the Lazarus driver, I'm pretty sure about that one. And nearly the Red Bull making a double overtake. He'll have to settle. Up the inside, though, the Red Bull gets dropped back down once again. The Lazarus and the FRF car side by side on the run down towards the final quarter. The FRF car with the inside line. Lazarus with a little bit more overspeed, though. The Red Bull just lurking in the background there, possibly looking to pick up the pieces if these two should come together through Sunset Bend as they go. The Lazarus car out very, very wide. That's potentially going to lose a position. The back end of the FRF stepping out there as the Red Bull makes a little bit of contact, and incredibly, it's as they were. No, the Red Bull pulls off into the pits, I think.
Oh yeah, good spot there. So we got our first of the pit stops, but it was almost like there was a sign on the Lazarus door just saying, you know, hit here for a boost, because everyone was going into the side of them there. What a lap that was. Red Bull also tagging them, and that allowed Fast Racer Sports to make 2 places. So, well, we'll keep an eye then on pit stops. So, as you said, we think we saw Red Bull coming in there. So that's the first one. And again, Lazarus on the grass once again, that time Forza Motorsport are trying to move again and not quite coming off. So all of this, I think that maybe Solar Vision, I think that is in the background, who are closing in. Yes, it is. So Solar Vision now coming into this battle with Lazarus once again running wide, this time at the hairpin.
Yeah, that was an open door for FRF, or at least it was briefly open, but then that got closed, and Lazarus is really going to be pulling for the Solar Vision to get involved here, just to give them a little bit of relief here, because this Lazarus has been under attack for more than an entire lap, I believe, at this point. It's just been absolutely relentless, and they could potentially start thinking about coming into the pits, if only to just get out of this pack, because this is a dangerous situation that Lazarus now find themselves in. Again, leading the championship coming into this weekend's racing, and just struggling at the moment. Again, it was Total Performance that we saw move to the front of this race, moving ahead of the Alien Motorsport car and taking that lead and holding on to it for the meantime. But Lazarus, no shortage of excitement for them as we come to the end of yet another lap, rapidly approaching the halfway point of this endurance race as well too. And I do wonder if we're going to see anybody in this group pulling off into the pits.
Yeah, Fast Racers Sports, I don't think this would be a bad time for them to come in. Likewise, Lazarus, because they're finding themselves pushed wide quite a lot here, and I think they've listened to me. Oh, no, they haven't. Sorry, I almost got very excited there. Fast Racers Sports did, though. They come in. So Fast Racers Sports into the pits. Lazarus stay out, and they can take a bit of a breath now as they have a gap over Solar Vision Racing, who are being hotly pursued by Rise Motorsport. So, as you said, Justin, we're just below halfway through the race now, and I think over the next 2 to 3 laps, most teams will make a trip into the pits.
Yep, I think you're very right about that, and I definitely agree with the call to... Oh, has somebody gone very wide there in front of the Lazarus?
Yeah, someone must have taken a trip off there. Who is it? Is it the Virtual Drivers by TX3 ahead of them? I wonder if they found themselves on the grass slightly, but no positions changed, so... yeah, maybe just time lost.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one. Just we could just see the dust in the grass being kicked up by whatever car was ahead. It's a fairly sizable gap, but you can just see that car off in the distance. So I think that may have been what happened, and that gap may have gotten smaller after they went for that short excursion off of the circuit as well. But Lazarus looking a little bit more comfortable, and great for them. I'm happy for them because they deserve it at this point. Just sit back and relax for just a lap or two, maybe, as they don't have to worry too much about the Solar Vision behind.
Yes, leave me alone, please. Just give me a lap. Yes, so Lazarus, well, they're 2.5 seconds behind Virtual Drivers by TX3 at the moment. This is the battle that's hotting up though behind, isn't it? Solar Vision Racing and Rise. One of them's going to have to come in, you think, because battling at this stage isn't going to do either of them any favours. Rise will be hoping, I'm sure, Solar Vision peels off. If they don't on this lap, we may see a last-minute dash for them to come into the pits and try the undercut.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think we'll see one of these, possibly both of them, but I think at least one of them will be coming into the pits. I think it's a good idea to do what your competitor doesn't, and that's exactly what we're seeing as Rise pulls off. So yeah, if the car ahead doesn't pit, you go in the pits. If they do pit, you stay out. You know, that's always a good strategic move.
Well, we haven't seen much of these guys so far. Well, not for the last 10 laps or so anyway. Total Performance Racing. Now, Total Performance Racing in the last round fell back by... well, the gap between them and Red Bull in second was 29 points. They were once a second in the championship and constantly finishing within the top 2 positions for Total Performance Racing. Just to talk you through some of their results, actually, third. The first 2 rounds, they were not off the podium. A 6th and a 4th last time. By their standards, that was a bit of a disappointing race. So for them, Justin, this would be a great way to come back with a win in the endurance. Oh yeah,
no doubt about that. That would feel fantastic. And at the moment, it would be hard to bet against them as we are very close to nearing that halfway point. We're on lap 14 out of 28, so we will be approaching that halfway point at the end of this lap as we go on board. I love that section of the circuit, actually, towards the end, just before the penultimate corner, that right-hander that takes you onto the long straight, this one here. Just lovely kind of S section. lefts and rights and lots of changes of direction, which is always a lot of fun from a driving perspective. Not a great area to be making overtakes. It's one of those parts of the circuit where you're really probably not going to be doing any sort of overtaking or anything like that. Into that final corner goes the leader of the race. Will they come into the pits at the halfway point of this race? We will find out. I'm sure we will get told when they make their way into the pits. Lage, though, again, who we've seen him. We've seen the webcam of him driving and focusing and just looking very calm and collected. No sweat or anything like that. You have to say, looking very, very strong, very confident in that Red Bull Ford GTE, looking very good. So down in 6th place at the moment, but again, they have been into the pits already.
I think, going back to your point, we're on Aurélien Mallet. There he is. Look, that's a driver you want to sponsor, right? He's got it all in picture there for you. He's got the fridge, everything. There you go. If you've got a company, there's a driver who knows how to pull a sponsor with it properly. Of course, one of the Red Bull Racing Esports drivers, Aurélien Mallet. But I think the last few weeks, Justin, you'll know, with all the esports commentary you do, has proved that esports drivers are just as capable as, real drivers, if you like, drivers who race, in the likes of the FIA World Endurance Championship. They've proved that they can fight it with them. And if you were to look at one of the FIA World Endurance Championship drivers in car, they'd look very calm themselves as well. So I think it's almost what we should expect from the likes of Aurélien Mallet, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes back to what I mentioned before, pressure management, which is something that, a lot of people do know about, but a lot of, especially if people are new to esports, and there are a lot of people sort of discovering esports and sim racing esports and all that kind of stuff right now. But pressure management is a big thing. I kind of touched on it earlier. Being fast at home, in the comfort of your own home, racing against random online people. That's one thing. Going up against a field as talented and as challenging as this, and still being able to maintain that composure, that's what separates a good driver from a great driver. And you have to say, Aurélien looking very, very comfortable out there. No major mistakes from him. And yeah, we could see from those shots, from his webcam shots, just how calm and collected he is. And that's exactly what you want. That's the kind of driver that you want on your team. Somebody that brings that consistency and that confidence.
Yeah, I think the pressure as well doesn't just come from the drivers you're up against, does it? But Red Bull Racing Esports, they're going to be closely following. Bad results throughout the season are not going to look good for you as a Red Bull Racing Esports driver. And not only that, but we're streaming out to so many platforms. Motorsport.tv, we're on the FIA World Endurance Championship and 24-hour Le Mans Facebook pages. Likewise, our sponsors Thrustmaster and Placey, all the motorsport channels as well. We're going through a variety of different channels this evening, and with esports is all that we've been treated to since this pandemic started, Justin. So the amount of viewers within esports has gone up a huge amount, hasn't it? I mean, it was big already, but for those fans who didn't watch esports before, they're now going to be tuning into this evening as well to get their racing fix, if you like, for the weekend. And these guys are going to know that, aren't they? And they know, if they make a mistake, it's going to be seen by a lot of people.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, more than would have been done before. As you said, very large crowds already, but with the lack of real-life motorsport coming in, sim racing esports is proving to be more important than ever before, with a bigger audience than ever before as well, which is fantastic for these guys, because they put in a lot of work. The broadcast team puts in a lot of work organizing and preparing and all this kind of stuff. So it's great to see that the recognition is sort of coming in. It's unfortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in, but we hope we're doing a fairly decent job at entertaining people who are missing the real life motorsport, that are missing the sounds of these engines firing at full tilt, just heading down a straight. Certainly I'm missing it myself. I'm a huge motorsport fan of a number of different disciplines. As you would imagine, being an American, I test the waters with a lot of different types of racing. And, it's just unfortunate that essentially everything has been postponed or canceled. So, but it's so great to have this in here. I would have been watching along regardless whether we had real life motorsport on or not. But, this is more important now more than ever.
I mean, the Motorsport Games team doing a fantastic job to bring you this broadcast. We're coming from a number of different locations. I mean, Justin, talk about social distancing. They've put us on different continents, so we're being very safe. We're being very cautious. But we've got team members all around in different locations to bring you this stream, and the quality those guys are being able to bring is fantastic. But Justin, another thing I wanted to ask you, it's been talked a lot in the press in recent weeks about esports and the rise of it, and now everyone's starting to try and get involved in esports. How has that been for yourself, someone who's worked in it for a number of years, and you work with Motorsport Games as well? How has it been for yourself the last few weeks?
Well, it's been great. There's a lot of people getting into sim racing for the first time. There's a lot of people that are considering competing for the first time, which is fantastic. We always encourage that. But a lot of people just sort of picking it up for the very first time. And you don't need a whole rig. You can just have a console like like an Xbox with a controller, and you can just kind of dip your toes in that way. I remember I started my sim racing on a keyboard, which is literally the worst possible way of controlling a racing car. If you've never experienced controlling a powerful racing car with a keyboard, let me tell you, it is exciting. Sure, we'll go with exciting as the word, but yeah, you can get involved very easily. You can purchase and download these games digitally through your console. You can play it on a controller, get a feel for it, and then if you decide that it's something that you really want to get involved in, you can go out there, you can buy a racing wheel, hook it up to your console, and really turn it into a whole experience. You can spend even more, buy a rig and have a racing seat for you to sit in and all that kind of stuff as well too. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but it's very easy to get involved, very difficult to master. To get onto these guys who are watching, to get onto their level takes a lot of practice. I'm not gonna water it down. You have to really be able to put in the work, put in the hours, put in the effort. You have to really enjoy turning laps around these circuits. But that's the great thing about it, is that anybody can try it. You don't have to be a millionaire to buy one of these cars or anything like that, like you would in real racing, which is a very expensive thing to do. So yeah, it's cheap to try, difficult to master, but also very rewarding when you get it right.
Yeah, it's great fun, isn't it? And if you guys were at home, you haven't done any esports of any sort before, well, with us, you can win a trip to the 24-hour Le Mans. If you're able to go, the way you can do that, you can get Forza Motorsport 7. You can try and qualify for the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. You will be racing against the guys you are seeing on screen right now. That is through the Rivals events on Forza Motorsport 7. One of them is going on at the moment as well, and will be running till March the 29th, if I'm not mistaken, until the end of the March of 29th of March. So you can go on, try and set a time. You can have as many goes at it as you like, and if you are the quickest within your region, it's split into 3 different regions. If you're the quickest in your region by the end of the entry period, then you will qualify through to the Mans Esports Series Super Final. You'll win a trip to the 24-hour Le Mans, which is where you will compete, and there is a $200,000 prize pool as well. So, Justin, that isn't a bad way to start, is it?
No, not a bad way at all, especially if you can pick up some cash as well. Always a good thing. I have to say, I'm surprised Total Performance didn't come into the pits here, actually. Look at that fuel level just dipping down to 9% as they start lap number 19 out of 28. The tires not looking super healthy up at the front as well either, which tells me, though, by the way, that Commando doing a fantastic job of managing those rears, which can be difficult on a road course like this that's just so bumpy. It's very easy to spin up those rear tires and just take a little bit of life out of them. But Commando doing a fantastic job in the lead of this race, setting a very quick lap time last time as well. So looking very strong up at the front, but I would imagine coming into the pits potentially at the end of this lap.
Yeah, we can see his tyres really taking a hit there as well, and less than 10% of fuel. So let's get back to the race then. We've gone away from it. We've sort of lowered the concentration level on the regs itself for a while, but there still is one going on, so I guess we should do the job we've been paid to do and talk you through it. Total Performance Racing leading that. They're probably going to be coming in on this lap. They've, since being in the lead, Justin, they've made a big gap, and we're in that stage of the race now where everything's going to be just sorting itself out while all the pit stops are being made. But Total Performance Racing just coming through Bishop now, down towards turns 15 and into Le Mans before they go onto the Allman Straight. I think they're probably going to come in this time, but we've seen most of the teams now trickle into the pits.
Yeah, I do wonder if they had actually planned to stay out this long, or if that was an adjustment that they ended up making in the middle of the race. But they're looking very strong. I expect them to come in this lap. I don't know why they would push it yet another lap. To be honest, I expected them to come in on the previous lap, but we'll see if they take a slightly different line and try to make their way into the pits. And yes, they do, just about. It's a little bit deceiving, isn't it, coming out of that final corner? Because they do run a little bit wide and then shuffle back over to the right-hand side to get into the pits. But that is your race leader into the pits for their one and only stop. We'll see what that does to the race.
Well, will they still be the race leaders? I believe they should be, but Lazarus in second at the moment, Red Bull Racing in third, Fast Racers Forza in fourth. Now we'll see where they come back out on the circuit. Let's have a look. They're just coming through the final corner now at the moment, and we are being told that the leader is now leaving the pit, so that should still be the race lead for Total Performance Racing. We'll get the gap for you the next time they come across the line. So we can see another team just coming out of the pits as well in the background there. But Total Performance Racing have now made their stop. Battle for the lead is on.
And I think Lazarus was into the pits as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were indeed. Yeah, and so Red Bull now fifth, up into second. Yep, up into second for Red Bull, down to fifth for Lazarus. But, of course, they are going to have extremely fresh tires and with not many laps left to turn as well. So they could be very quick in the closing stages here. Yeah,
we talked about their strategy here, and that's probably what it was. They're so far in the lead. They were so far in the lead. They might as well go as long as they can, like you said, and have fresher tyres. So I think a good choice in the end there from Total Performance Racing. Whether that was their option, whether that was their strategy from the start of the race, I'm not sure. But that's one thing you have to do in these endurance races, Justin, is that you have to adapt your strategy depending on what happens.
Yeah, it's not just a case of coming in, it's not like all 15 cars are going to be coming in at the end of lap 14 exactly half distance. That would not be beneficial for a large majority of the drivers. So, yeah, we're seeing a variety of strategies as you would in the real life WEC. So, just on board. I think we're on board with Solar Vision, actually. Yeah, we were on board with Solar Vision. Just making their way through that S section, and with Fordzilla not that far behind either. Two of my favorite looking cars, actually, I have to say, Fordzilla and Solar Vision. Really, really enjoy those liveries as they come onto that back straight down towards the final corner. I don't think Solar Vision is going to be close enough to mount an attack on this particular occasion, but what they're probably looking to do is just close up the gap, stick nice and close to the car ahead through this final corner, and then potentially look to make a move into turn one.
We'll see if that's how it plays out. Solar Vision there, you can see just tucking in to the slipstream now on the Rise car, and not going to be close enough into turn one. Maybe they're going to try and line something up for the hairpin down at turn number 7. They might be able to get something into turn number 3 here. This is Solar Vision Racing, who are in 7th place at the moment. Rise just ahead of them. Team Fordzilla in the background there. You can see them coming through turn number 3 now into 4. Now we come through turn 5. Now we go around the long turn 6 big bend and down towards the hairpin, and at the moment Solar Vision not quite close enough, but they certainly are keeping up that pressure on Rise Motorsport, who are just ahead of them at the moment, as we are well in now to the final third of this race. Lap number 21 of 28, and Total Performance Racing's lead is over 8 seconds.
And of course, Rise and Solar Vision are locked in that battle for 5th position in the championship at the moment, which is very important for both of them to maintain their 5th and 6th place position. So what they're not going to want is that Fordzilla in the background, Fordzilla outside the top 6. after that first race that we saw. But yeah, they really don't want that Fordzilla coming in and just overtaking the both of them, because again, the Fordzilla is a competitor for both of these teams, Rise and Solar Vision. So as much as these teams are interested in battling each other and overtaking each other and defending from each other, they also do need to be worried about that Fordzilla in the background, because if they start battling each other, going side by side through a lot of corners, that could bring the Fordzilla into play, and potentially both teams could end up losing positions to Team Fordzilla.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the main focuses is actually Virtual Drivers by TX3. They're in 4th place at the moment. That would give them 18 points. Solar Vision Racing, who are in 7th at the moment, they would score a total of 9 points. So that is a 9-point difference, isn't it? And the gap between those two in the championship is 7. So if the flag went out now, Virtual Drivers by TX3 would take 6th place in the championship away from Solar Vision Racing. So Solar Vision Racing really do need to make this place as quickly as possible now and try and make a little bit more progress, because at the moment they'd be dropping out of that top 6. And it's the top 6 that qualify for the Super Final. There still is one more round to go, of course, but that is still a big thing that we need to follow throughout the end of this race.
Yeah, exactly right. And at the moment, it seems like a real stalemate between these two. The Fordzilla as well, it seems possibly even dropping off a little bit off of this battle. Yeah, it's ever so slightly if they did drop back at all, but not really making a whole lot of ground. But again, Solar Vision hasn't really been mounting an attack. Not a ton of side-by-side moments. They get very, very close to that rear diffuser, to that rear wing, but we haven't seen any major overtake attempts just yet. The laps are really ticking down, though. After this one is completed, only 6 laps to go. So yeah, they're running out of precious time. If they want to try to close up to Lazarus in 5th position, for example, they really, as you said, they really need to try and make up this position on Rise as quickly as they can. And at the moment, though, Solar Vision doesn't seem to be able to do it. Fordzilla is still just lurking in the background. It's very much the same sort of story that we had a lap or two ago.
With very quick maths, and I emphasise very quick maths, if the flag were to go out now, Rise Motorsport would be in 5th in the championship with 74 points. 6th would then be Virtual Drivers by TXT with 70 points. And 7th would be Solar Vision with 68 points. So just 6 points between 3 teams fighting for the last 2 qualifying places for the Super Final. What a last round that would build up to be. Fantastic stuff. So this really is a big battle, isn't it? Because even Solar Vision now going past Rise, that would make this championship battle even more close.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. And now we're looking on board with the Rise, looking backwards at the Solar Vision, and can just about see that Fordzilla in the distance as well. Nicely through that left-hander. No major dramas or issues for any of those guys. You can see missing the apex ever so slightly for the Solar Vision, so possibly struggling a little bit with tires. We are really approaching the end of this 28-lap endurance race now, so these guys are definitely going to be feeling a bit of wear and tear on the tires and on themselves as well, because of course it is a big mental ask. Oh, just dipping a wheel in the dust, in the gravel there for the Rise car, but no major dramas or anything like that. Not losing any major time. In fact, I would say Solar Vision losing a little bit of time through that section there, but closing back up into the braking zone now. And that Fordzilla actually coming back at them, I would say, looking a little bit closer than it was before. Again, we are talking about minute differences, tenths of a second here and there are the differences in terms of lap time that we're seeing. Also, I'm noticing the Red Bull of Lage getting a little bit closer to the lead, so I do wonder if that's a battle that could develop as we get closer and closer to the end of this race. But at the moment, it is all about Rise versus Solar Vision, and again, Team Fordzilla. Fordzilla desperately could use a good result here today, and they might be seeing an opportunity just up the road here.
Yeah, Fast Race Forza really trying to close down Red Bull. Red Bull, if the race were to finish now, Red Bull would leave the championship leaders. Red Bull Racing were 2 points behind Lazarus coming into this race, but they of course are second at the moment. Lazarus down in 5th, so I think that would create a 10-point gap between the two. So Red Bull Racing would leave with a I wouldn't say a comfortable championship lead at all, but a sizable one, given how close things have been throughout the latter half of this season. This is round number 4 of 5, of course. The last round will be on the 25th of April, and that will be at Spa in the Porsche 911 RSR. So that's going to be a very exciting.
What a combo!
Yeah, that's my favourite car. I love the Porsche. Best sounding car for me.
I was about to say, you know, when I went to Circuit of the Americas earlier this year, that RSR Porsche is loud. It hurts. Yeah. It hurts.
Yeah. I thought that going to Le Mans, that was last year. That was the first time I'd seen a World Endurance Championship race, and what a car! When I stood there and watched them all came by, that was the one for me. You can face the other way and know in a distance. Here comes the Porsche. Yeah. We actually played a game. Me and one of the cameramen played a game standing. I forget what corner we were. It was the Porsche curbs we were standing by, and we played a game. Listen to the car coming. Try and guess which one it is. The Ford, very easy to guess. The Porsche as well, of course. That was an easy one to get. But the Ford, that thing's loud. That's got a real grunt to it. But the Porsche for me, when it goes up the gears, that is nothing sounds better in motor racing in my opinion. But there we go. Could talk all day about it, but we have got a good battle going on, an important one as well. Rise versus Solar Vision. This is Total Performance Racing. Sean Arnold leading the way. I believe this will be the last time we see him in the championship. So each team is made up of 3 drivers. They can only do 2 sprint races and 2 endurance races each. And once they've done those, they are not allowed to do any more. So it means we will see all 3 drivers throughout the championship. I believe for Sean Arnold this will be his last appearances in the championship. Red Bull Racing though, they've got last time we checked, a 1.5 gap to Fast Racers Forza. We'll monitor that as we get now well deep into the race. It's absolutely flown by, isn't it, this endurance race. But this race continues to hot up. Rise versus Solar Vision, lap number 25 now 28. Are Solar Vision playing the long game here, Justin? Has it been a case that they just haven't been able to find a way through, or are they waiting for the last couple of laps to then make their move?
I have to imagine that they were, sort of giving it everything in an effort to try and make up as many positions as they possibly can, rather than just leaving it to the end and trying to make the overtake on Rise. But you never know. It's hard to imagine what's going on in the mind of a racing driver. It's just all ones and zeros, I imagine. But
in any time.
Exactly. Even when they're ordering food. So I can't imagine that was the plan, but it might be the plan now. Was that the plan 5 laps ago? I'm not so sure about that, but at this point, they may just be looking to grab that one final position off the Rise Motorsport car, pick up a few extra points, relegate the Rise car, because again, they are locked in that championship battle with Rise Motorsport. So any points that they can take away from them and also give to themselves is doubly doubly helpful. They're not just getting more points for themselves, but they're getting less points for that Rise Motorsport team as well. The Fordzilla in the background as well, just ever so slightly inching closer, but not really making huge headway. So I do wonder whether or not that Fordzilla is going to come into play. I think it's going to come down to whether or not the Solar Vision goes for the attack on the Rise. I think that's what's eventually going to bring the Fordzilla into this battle, because there's just that slight gap. It's about a second or so between the Solar Vision and the Fordzilla, but it's really not going to take much battling between Rise and Solar Vision to bring that Fordzilla into that battle and turn it into a 3-way battle for this position, that is for 6th position. It's a pretty sizable gap up to Lazarus now, really running out of laps, so I have a feeling that this 6th place is going to be the best that any of these 3 cars can do at this stage.
I totally agree. And going back to racing drivers, they take racing lines going around the house, don't they? And I imagine
they do.
They've been timing themselves and setting their
in the grocery store.
As you said, at Fordzilla, when we had a little look at them there, just as they came to the Ormond Straight, they just got a little bit out of shape. And I think that would have lost them a couple of tenths. But Fordzilla are just hoping that Solar Vision goes for a move. They'll even be saying it to themselves, like, go on, make a move, get me into this battle, because at the moment they're close, but just not close enough to be really putting any pressure on Solar Vision, but let's not count out Fordzilla. This would be a really good result for them, Fordzilla, who had a really slow start to the championship. They've had 2 5th places so far this season. That's been their best results, but this would be a really good result for them, and another top 10 finish, an 8th place. So that would mean that they've gone through most of the last 3 rounds with top 10 results. So Team Fordzilla, even if the flag were to go out now, I'd say they've done a pretty good job, but they've got a chance here to get a couple more positions as we approach the final couple of laps.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on it before, but again, these 2 teams ahead of the Fordzilla car are the current teams that are in 5th and 6th in the standings. So, I mean, this is hugely important. Oh, the Solar Vision going off the circuit there through the penultimate corner, as well as the Fordzilla. A bit of a wobble for both of them. I don't think that's going to be very helpful for Fordzilla. You can see just losing a little bit of time. Yeah, in fact, losing time on that rundown towards Sunset Bend for one of the final times in this race. Really, the laps ticking away now as they come onto the start-finish straight. And the gaps have actually extended a little bit between these 3 cars as they start the penultimate lap now. So really starting to run out of opportunities to make up positions. We saw some small mistakes here, but it was from the Solar Vision and the Fordzilla. So at the moment, Rise Motorsports are looking fairly comfortable with less than 2 laps to go.
Well, let's run through where we are on the penultimate lap. Total Performance Racing, Red Bull Racing, Fast Racers, Forza, top 3 at the moment with virtual drivers by TX3 4th. Then it's Lazarus, Rise, Solar Vision Racing, Team Fordzilla, Alien Motorsport, Lightspeed Esports, Raging Dragon, Legion of Racers, Bashura Motorsport, VP Gaming, and Team Highlands. That is how the order stands at the moment. This is the main battle on track, perhaps, because both Rise and Solar Vision are in that fight for the top, to be inside the top 6 in the standings and qualified to the super final. And at the moment, with virtual drivers in 4th place, Solar Vision would drop to 7th in the standings, and virtual drivers by TX3 would climb up to 6th place. Having started this round in 8th place, what a round it would have been for them, gaining 2 places in total. But Team Fordzilla could make things a little bit worse for Solar Vision, as it seems the tyres on that Solar Vision car have absolutely gone now, and Team Fordzilla are closing in on this lap. And as we approach the last lap, it could be a last lap dash between these 2 for 7th place.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Rise looking more and more comfortable as these laps tick down. You could see on the onboard from this Fordzilla just how much they're having to fight the wheel, how much they're having to catch the car. Looking much better through the penultimate corner that time compared to on the previous lap. But unfortunately for them, same for the Solar Vision. So it's not going to be a big net gain for the Fordzilla on the rundown towards Sunset Bend for the final time in this race, or penultimate time in this race, I should say, as we go on board with the Solar Vision, just looking backwards at that Fordzilla, which is looking bigger and bigger as each corner goes by. It really does seem that the Fordzilla is that little bit stronger at this stage of the race. I think you may be exactly right about that one, Chris, and that the tires are just starting to go away from this Solar Vision car as they make their way through turn 1 for the final time. Again, though, there's maybe 2 or 3 opportunities for the Fordzilla here to try and make up this position. Still about a car length or 2 between the 2 cars. You can see using all of the inside curving there, just trying to pick up as much time as they possibly can, close in this gap, give that Fordzilla the opportunity to try and take 7th position on the final lap of this race.
Yeah, cue the Jaws music as Team Fordzilla get closer and closer. There we can see, looking back from the Solar Vision racing car, Team Fordzilla, they've been very close, getting ever so close. They could do with another lap or 2, I think, but they may just get one opportunity going down towards Sunset Bend for the final time. Legion of Racers, by the way, have gone into 11th. They've just gone past Raging Dragon. Raging Dragon, I think, have had a problem actually, because they're dropping down the field now. Bashura also making a place as well. But out front, it is Red Bull, it is Total Performance Racing, who lead the way by over 7 seconds from Red Bull Racing. This is the battle for 7th between Solar Vision and Team Fordzilla. And there we now go back to the leaders. Total Performance Racing, after a bad round last time, this is a much needed result for Total Performance Racing. They sit 3rd in the standings, and Total Performance Racing. They won the very first race of the season. It's been a long time since they've been on the top step, but they are now back there. Endurance race at round number 4 goes to Sean Arnold and Total Performance Racing. They take the race win, a much needed race win for them. That's going to give them a huge boost of confidence going into the final round. This is the battle for 6th place. Rise just ahead of Solar Vision. Fordzilla not quite able to get there in the end. Solar Vision doing a good job to hold off that pressure. How valuable will those extra couple of points be when we get to the final round on the 25th of April? Red Bull Racing second, Fast Pacer Sports the third, Virtual Drivers by TX3, Lazarus, Rise, Solar Vision, Team Fordzilla, Alien and Le Mans Esports round out the top 10, Legion of Racers, Bashura, and then it's VP Gaming, Raging Dragon, and behind that, Team Highlands. Well, there we go, Justin. Brilliant race. What a performance there from Total Performance Racing. That really was a much needed win for them. They just seem to be lacking a little bit of confidence in the last round, but they're going to have that back in big numbers, Sal.
Oh yeah, that was really something to watch. I have to say, I really enjoyed that race at Sebring, especially that battle for 6th position, which kind of turned into a battle for 7th position, with Rise looking a little bit more comfortable in the closing stages of that endurance race, but putting on a heck of a show for us. And again, we saw a lot fewer mistakes than I was expecting, or not necessarily expecting, but I got to say, I was really impressed with the level of driving that we saw out there today. But yeah, I think Rise versus Solar Vision versus Fordzilla, I think that was the battle for me, really keeping us entertained in the second half of that race and doing a fantastic job. It was really tense stuff.
In terms of the championship, though, Red Bull now take the lead of the championship going into the final round. Virtual Drivers by TX3 take that final 6th spot. So that's going to be 2 really important things that we follow going into that final round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be hugely important. I mean, this is the right time of the season to have that kind of surge in performance. So for TX3, that could be hugely important. That this may end up being, the weekend that turned everything around for them potentially. It nearly looked like it might have started to become that for Fordzilla as well, looking a little bit stronger towards the end of that race. But the differences in lap times that we were seeing between those 3 cars in that battle for 6th position, it was very, very small. Fordzilla did look that little bit stronger, but unfortunately they didn't quite have the pace to make that overtake. But I imagine TX3 is going to be really happy with that. Fast Racers, though, as well, taking that pole position, taking that win as well in the sprint race at the start of the weekend. I imagine they're going to be feeling pretty strong heading into round 5 as well.
Well, plenty more analysis coming up from myself and Justin. For now, though, we're going to take a quick break. What we're going to go back and look at now, of course, is 6 teams are going to qualify through the Pro Team Series for the Super Final, but 1 team has already qualified. That was the Mans Esports team. They did that at our Autosport Invitational back in January, and here's what happened.
This is the Le Mans Esports Teams Invitational. We are away and racing for 2 hours. There's only 1.2 seconds between the top 2. The winner will go to the Le Mans Esports Series Super Final. Here we go then, Williams versus Jota. 1 lap to decide. To the Portuguese, I wonder, Jota getting very close now. It is getting seriously close. That was a mistake there from Williams. And oh no, big mistake. And that's a spin there from the Jota team. Williams are going to take the win. Williams across the line. Give him a round of applause, everyone. Williams win the Autosport Teams Invitational. It's their only chance to do it. And they're going to be going to the Mans Esports Series Super Final.
What a day, what a weekend. That was fantastic racing. I think, Justin, for anyone that thinks it is this pandemic that has made esports a big thing, you are mistaken, because we had a huge crowd of people there watching that race that day, which went all the way down to the final corner. Did you manage to catch any of it yourself, Justin? It was a brilliant race, and Williams getting themselves through to the super final in what was their only chance as well to do it.
Yeah, I was watching and I was supporting Valache. Unfortunately, for those that saw that event, they know how that went down already. Unfortunately, they didn't have one of their drivers. Somebody had to fill in, and it didn't go so well. Yeah.
I think he had a 10-second lead, if I remember. And it was, he thought, oh, he might be able to do this. And let's just say, I think the pressure got to him. It was how many times he was going to spin, I think, by the end. So I ran out of many times. In one hand, you couldn't count it, unfortunately. But
I sympathize, though. I wouldn't have done any better.
No. I mean, I can talk about it, but you won't catch me going in and trying to compete with those guys. But they gave it a good effort. But Williams getting through, Lazarus, of course, with that spin right at the end. But it was a fantastic event. They were the first team to qualify through to the Pro Team Series, through to the Super Final. Sorry, 6 more will come from here, 2 wildcards. And as we said, we've already had people qualifying for the Pro-Am class. It's going to be 18 teams at the Super Final this year. The other qualifying is open to the general public. So if you have Forza Motorsport 7, you can qualify through via the Rivals events. One of those is going on at the moment. I mean, it's the penultimate one as well. So you want to start practicing now. Try and set a time in this one. It's going until the 29th of March, the end of the 29th of March. Then there'll be one more after that, I believe. So make sure you get on and get practicing. The other AM qualifiers were due to be at the Sebring and Spa FIA World Endurance Championship races. So keep an eye. We'll give you updates as and when we can on what's going to happen on those qualifiers. So follow us at Mans Esports and we'll let you know. There was one AM qualifier at the Autosport show. But there we go. But Justin, going back to this race, I think, it's nicely poised now for the final round of the Le Mans Esports Series. It's one thing I think that is good, that is still all to play for in this championship, not just for the lead, but for that 6th place as well.
Especially for that 6th place, in fact, a number of teams really, really looking at that spot and hoping to take that off of one of the teams that currently holds it. So, at the moment, Red Bull leading the way. They now have that 10-point gap over Lazarus, and then it's another 14 points down to total performance. Fast Racers Forza, after their great performance here today, now on 122 points, just 40 points behind. But then that's when we get into the real meat and potatoes stuff here, which is Rise, Virtual Drivers by TX3, Solar Vision, Patura. It's really, really tight for that 5th and those all-important 5th and 6th place positions.
Yes, well, there you can see that is how the championship now looks. Just to remind you, 10,000 goes to the winning team, 7,500 to second, 5,000 to third, $4,000 to fourth, then it's 3,500, 3,000. From 7th place down, you're getting at least $2,500. So even if you don't qualify for the super final, you take some money home with you, which is a fantastic thing, isn't it? So there we go. That is all, I think, from us for this round. Justin, thank you for coming along. Thank you for filling in for Harry. Sadly, he couldn't make it, but it was fantastic to have you along. I know it would have gone down very well with all the experience you have with esports racing, and of course with motorsport games yourself as well. So you're kind of part of the series already. But what have you made of the whole experience?
Oh, I mean, I had a blast. I had an absolute blast. I think I got really lucky actually with those races, because that was a lot of fun to commentate. And I do commentary because I just love doing it. It's a lot of fun just watching cars go around, chat with somebody such as yourself. It's fantastic to do. Really enjoyed myself. Really enjoyed the racing, and I'm really looking forward to the final round.
And I have one more question to ask you, if that's okay. That's not a lockdown beard, is it? How long does that take? Because if there's people out there that are worried that they're not going to be able to go and get a proper trim with their beard, how long does it take before they're at that point? How long do you have to be locked in for?
For me, this was like about a year. I mean, for some people, they could probably do this 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. With my genetics, no, This took a long time. But I've been social distancing for 10 years now, or something like that. I'm an actual hermit. So yeah, it was rather easy for me to grow this out a long time ago. But yeah, as somebody with a beard, I encourage others to do it. It's a lot of fun.
And your advice. So you say social distance. What's your advice to us when we get 2 months into this? You haven't. It doesn't get to the point where you're talking to the fish, does it, in the background there?
No. I talk to the dogs. I like to maintain a little bit of respect. Yeah. I only talk to the mammals.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you for being with us. Hopefully we get to
My pleasure. Thank you.
At some point. Round number 5, of course, will be next, and that's going to be on the 25th of April. We're going to be doing that at Spa in the Porsche 911 RSR. So until then, that's all. I've been Chris McCarthy. He's been Justin Sutton. The main thing we want to leave you with from everyone here, on behalf of everyone, first of all, thank you for watching, but more importantly, stay at home, guys. Stay safe until the 25th of April. Make sure you look after yourselves, guys. We'll see you then.